everyone. Welcome to Generally Divided, a new podcast YouTube show that pits Gen X versus Gen Z on a wide variety of topics. My name is Daniel.
I'm Marco, also known as Gen Z Guy.
Gen Z guy, but you guys can call him Gen Z lad if you want because, he's just a kid. But, my metabolism is a little bit slower right now because I'm a little bit older, so I can't really say much. But welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our very first episode. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, share it, like it, subscribe, and all the other fun social media stuff that you do on social media. I don't get too much on social media, but that's your gig, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because your generation loves to share your entire life online, right?
Well, personally, everyone has, different use for it. Me, it's just a way of venting out to my friends, talking to them in a way that they can understand. But for a lot of people, it is just sharing their life, sharing their daily stories, so to speak.
Okay, fair enough. So let's see. Our topic for today is going to be music. Of course, you see I'm sporting a Nirvana shirt because that is probably my favorite band, especially growing up during the grunge era. I used to wear a ton of flannel throughout high school. I used to never really did have long hair. I think this top of my hair, which is receding, is probably the longest I've ever had it right now. But if I did, I would have been a rock star. So my contention is Nirvana is probably the greatest. And now for Gen Z outlook, we turn to Marco.
For me, it would have to be D12, a great band, amazing band. I grew up on listening to D12, listening to Eminem. That was pretty much what started me out on music. Really caught my attention. So for me and a lot of my friends, a lot of people I knew, it was D12, Eminem, just hard rap, hard rock, everything like that in that genre.
D12. Name one song by D12.
Purple Pills.
Good.
That one was.
You could have said anything because I don't know it. You could have said long green grass, and I would have been like, okay.
No, I really could have said anything, but off the top of my head, that was one that I have heard played a lot. It's a very popular song, very explicit, very, very not a kid song. It's a very explicit one. Now,
why would you say what drew you to that music?
Oh, that's very easy. For me, what drew me to D12, what drew me to Eminem was, yes, their music was very in your face, very loud. But if you actually listen to it, which what a lot of people missed, he's speaking from the point of view of someone who's been on the street, someone who's experienced the rougher side of things. And I really feel he spoke for a lot of people in his own loud way. Eminem got, people's attention. What he did and what he said was, out there on most songs. But, honestly, he really spoke from our perspective as a unit, as he spoke for the people. And he let people hear what we had to say and gave us a voice in a way.
What people? Because he didn't speak to me.
Well, yeah, no, of course. That's why I say
or for me.
That's why I say, our people, because there's a lot of people that grew up in a certain point of view. They grew up without help. They grew up without parents who were really involved and parents who were able to support, because there are a lot of parents who were involved. Mine were greatly involved, but unfortunately they weren't able to be there and help me because they were still really young, which Eminem did experience. He experienced someone who was really young trying to raise a young man who didn't really have the support that she needed. And for me, that was the same thing. I had my parents who didn't really know what to do. And a lot of times it left me kind of trying to figure stuff out on my own. So that was my connection with that song, with a lot of his songs, a lot of his music was, hey, I'm a kid too. I'm dealing with the same things.
Now, I'm not very fond of Eminem. I like the candies, but not the rapper. But I will say when he did break out onto the music scene, I remember his VMA performance where he had a bunch of the Slim Shadys streaming down the audience. And that visually was very striking to me. It was just really interesting to see that concept played out there. But the music itself and his lyrics itself, they never really, I felt, carried as much weight as, say, a Nirvana band, who, to me, held more power. And okay, I was probably around the age of what Eminem's target audience would have been, because I was probably what the target audience that he was going after, not someone who was younger than you. Of course, you heard it much later after it came out.
Yes.
Not when it was originally released. You heard it down the line. But when Nirvana broke out with Nevermind, and it changed music. Up until then, there was a lot of it wasn't really grunge. It was alternatives, but it wasn't really that, what we classify as grunge, is the dirty rock. It was, it had that power. It had that, and that we hadn't really seen before Nirvana took over. So I can see how they can be similar in that, with their who they spoke to, and people felt connected to them. So I'm not gonna downplay that part of Eminem. I don't like his lyrics for a majority of his songs, just because of the way they very misogynistic, very down-putting on women for a lot of them. But I do appreciate that people can find some connection in there, because that's what art is, right? A way to connect, and music is art, of course. Yeah, I think, from my point of view, from the Gen X, at least, I think Nirvana played a bigger part in my life.
Honestly, that is true. I mean, I can't argue with Nirvana. Nirvana is a great band. I know a lot of songs from Nirvana. I've heard a lot of their music. Personally, for me, I've just always aligned with rap music. Then again, that could just come to how I was raised. I was, everywhere I went, no matter where I went, it was always Eminem, D12, Tupac. It was a lot of the older gen rappers that I grew up listening to. So for me, that was, my standpoint. That was my introductory to music. But yeah, as I grew up, I did realize that there was a lot of other bands out there. There was a lot of good artists out there, and a lot of the music didn't have to be explicit to truly reach me. And that's how that kind of changed. But for me, it's still, I would always say, if I'm going to go with my favorite artist, my favorite band, it'll always come back to Eminem. And that's just because a lot of his music, granted explicit, is another way of people, releasing those inner tensions, releasing the fun, releasing that crazy side. Because his music, if you listen to a lot of his party music, just in general, it's all about what people do in a party. I mean,
I couldn't tell you, because I've never heard any of it, so I can't bash it. I know his lyrics and the controversy he stirs up with that, but I can't say that. I mean, I've listened to Tupac, listened to Biggie, listened to Nas, listened to Puff Daddy, listened to all DMX. So rap, I get, yeah, and I'm not saying that all rap is kind and gentle, because of course all of it has undertones of explicit actions and whatnot, especially when you get into like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg and stuff with their gangster rap, and Ice Cube, Ice-T, and I listen to all that too. So yeah, but I just never really, and I don't know if it's because he's white guy, and I just really kind of dismissed him from that, because like when Vanilla Ice came out, I don't know if you know who Vanilla Ice is.
I know who Vanilla Ice is.
But
I was lucky enough to hear his music.
With Ice Ice Baby, and that was like the great white rapper or whatever. And so I don't know if Eminem coming up, and that's what I saw him as, was another Vanilla Ice, just someone posing as that. And I know his story, when he kind of encapsulated with the movie 8 Mile, kind of told like his
little bit of his background,
origin story, I guess you want to call it. And but it really, I don't know, just never really, and I'm of the right complexion of someone who would enjoy that, but I never did. Never have, and even now I can't go back and listen to be like, that's good, because to me it's not.
Yeah, well, that for me is the beauty of his music, because it doesn't have to reach everyone for everyone to know who he is. That right there is what really sets him apart from a lot of rappers, because there's a lot of great rappers that I've heard, but I wouldn't be able to name off the top of my head like I can with Eminem. Because even if I don't always agree with the song I hear, it's memorable because he makes sure when you hear his song, even if you don't really pay attention to it or you don't know him, no matter where you go, he's there, you know him. Even if it's controversial, there's a lot of people who don't like his music because of his explicit tone or that he bashes. And there's a lot of people that are like, well, damn, he's speaking and he's telling a story with all his music. So it's two sides, but both sides hear him. And I think that's in the end, that's what he wants. He wants both sides to hear him and choose for themselves, you know? That's the basis of what he wants. He wants to get people's attention.
But then, so he's courting controversy, is what you're saying. So he's looking to be that controversial figure because all news or even negative news is good news, right? So it gets you out there. So, yeah, I mean, I understand that. I mean, sure, okay. But, I mean, I come back to it. And maybe it's just because it's just my personal bias and where I like the music that I prefer, which is going to be more of the alternative rock and roll music. So I think of bands like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, and that ilk and that genre. And that's where my bread and butter's at growing up in the late 80s, early 90s being when I was in high school. And that is when my musical foundation, I guess you would say, is really where it really grabbed hold of. Earlier in life, I listened to just probably oldies because that's what my parents listened to. So the Beatles, Rolling Stones, all the early 60s rock and roll music. So that was a good foundation, a good starting point. But for when I really started to take hold and what music spoke to me, it was in the 90s alternative music. So even today, nothing tops the 90s alternative for me. I can listen to that channel, station, whatever you want to call it, endlessly.
Oh, those tyrants right there, big power music.
Tyrants.
You name big bosses in the music industry.
Or you can go deeper. You can go Green Day. You can go the Ramones. You can go, who else? The Wallflowers. If you want to go deeper. The Refreshments. You can go a bunch of people. I mean, my music genre spans wide across. I like a ton of different music, but it's always going to come back to that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. That for me is definitely where I'm at too. I have a lot of music I'm into. And honestly, music is how I pass the time. I mean, 24/7, I always got music with me.
And you're lucky. You are so lucky. Your generation never had to really worry about when calling up a radio station, say, hey, can I hear this song? Because you wanted to be able to record it on a cassette tape so you can play it back. Now I'm lucky too, because now I can stream music 24/7 as well. So, but I've had it both ways, the having to wait for it to come on a radio station, sitting around waiting for it, or the worst part, and let me tell you this, is when a song comes on, you really like it, but you don't know who it is, you don't know the name of the song, and they don't say it when the song ends. So the DJ doesn't say, oh, that was, something by Green Day or whatever you want to call it. And you're left there, oh, what was it? Because back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Shazam. We couldn't go look it up. We couldn't go to their website and see what their playlist was. We had to either call into a radio station, hey, what song did you play? Or wait to hear it again. Yeah. Or go to a record store and say, kind of like hum it out for the people that work there so they could try and tell you, oh, that's so such and such. So you're lucky because I know you have, and you've used what, Shazam, or what's the other one that you use? Soundhound to go and discover what music that you like because you heard it somewhere, or I played a song for you that you like, and you just do that. So, yeah, that was painful. Let me say, you're very lucky.
Well, in my age group, a lot of people in my age group, we did grow up with a little taste of it, a small, little brief introductory just before technology started to really pick up. I did get that little bit of having to wait for certain TV shows, having to wait for certain songs because technology was barely really kicking off and becoming as advanced as it is now. So yeah, I do totally understand that nightmare fuel of a life. I mean, compared to what we have now, that is nightmare fuel, having to wait. I mean, imagine not having your cell phone as advanced as it is, where you can literally look up a song on YouTube, YouTube Premium Music, I mean, there's so many apps now that give you free access to hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sit there and listen to ads or be on the radio and wait for a song to come on that you like, or have to even call anybody to hear a song. I mean, right now you can look up on the internet a band and then just find every song they've ever played, the years that they played it, and you can have all that at your fingertips.
Yeah.
As opposed to where it was before. So yeah, that I can totally see how much more we have now. I mean, I feel bad for the young ones who don't, now in this generation, who don't have that experience, who don't know what it is to have that, what they have.
What do you mean you feel bad for them?
Because honestly, I feel a lot of people don't appreciate good music or their own access to that music because it comes so naturally to them. I mean, I see it in a lot of young people nowadays. They don't realize how easy it is compared to what my parents had to deal with, what adults of, the generation before me had to experience. So they kind of just take everything for granted, or they get spoiled and they're like, oh, well, I want it now. I want it faster. And it's
instant gratification.
It's like, you already have that. You already have all this access. I wish there was a way to show people how far it's come so they can see, wow, I can
just take away their cell phones.
Oh my gosh, yes. World War X right there. End of the
you
world.
Want them to figure out what it was like? Take away their cell phones and let them figure out how to find music off the radio without it.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, give them a radio, give them a box TV, no plasma screen, no HDI, nothing advanced, all just original tech.
Yep, there you go. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into our inaugural episode of Generally Divided. I hope you got a taste of what we're going to be about. We're going to talk about our viewpoints from different generations and how they're generally divided. But, they come together every now and then. There's some overlap. Most of the time, our way of thinking is going to be a little bit different. So hopefully you tune back in, and we will see you all next time.